So let me get this straight. Wait, did my camera just... Just to be clear, you have a half dozen games that the only work you need to do is patch the English for. Don't even need to do voice work. The fans have repeatedly stated they want, and can just release a digital version of, for the various consoles that support such. So there's even less you need to invest in materials. 3 of which have had chart-topping sales for weeks on record, and a 4th is incoming. You then tease a fighting game after how absolutely horrible the last one made for this franchise was, and knowing that the American division's original or branch-funded games are notorious for their low quality and have regularly gotten low sales, as opposed to the scant few you've imported or Hong Kong has released internationally the last few years that have done quite well, and then don't even showcase that it is All-Star by only focusing on 3 of the seasons of this show in advertising. Nothing shown for Tamers, Frontier, or Data Squad. I can't explain why I didn't see anything for Tamers. It's actually in this game. Frontier and Data Squad are not, which are, honestly, remembered with more fondness by most of the fanbase, with intent to bank solely on nostalgia and children's ignorance of the old to score sales, with rushing out a subpar fighting game to compete with the release of Super Smash Bros. Yeah, I didn't like this game. But I'm not adding it to my Bandai of America Competence black hole argument because it feels like they were honestly trying to reach out to the fan base on this one.
No, I blame Saban Brands, as this has their modern handiwork all over it, along with an extensive credits listing of their members as part of the development and import team. The actual game was made by Probe, a Japanese developer known for the Digimon Adventure remake game for the PSP.
And yes, you have no idea how much that irritates me when I want to play that damn game. But Namco Bandai will not import it, nor the highly rated and widely recommended Digimon Redigitize.
Hell, with another Digimon Adventure anime on the way, it's really surprising they haven't even considered that, since they know it's coming, and it's likely getting dubbed anyways. Why wouldn't they draw people in with this game?
And I brought this all up because this was actually intended as a response to fan petitions, and made exclusively for the Western audience to test the waters. I am not even kidding. Look it up.
I don't get why this game was made, instead of doing the damn imports. No one in the Digimon fandom I've been able to find wanted this. And yes, I've asked around. We wanted the Adventure remake, Redigitize, and Redigitize Decode, and we're continuing to rally for an import of them and the new Cyber Sleuth game through fan petitions like Operation Decode, the most organized of the groups. If you're banking on nostalgia or to tie into the areas of Digimon Cross Wars as Digimon Fusion, any of them would freely hit that mark, on top of all the people you'd bank automatically who petitioned for their release.
Or I can finish learning Japanese and import them myself, but that would warrant putting the show on hiatus, and I like doing this every week. The only reason I can come up with that I can't logically invalidate of why this olive branch took this form is they wanted to take advantage of the popularity of the new Smash Bros. Games with a similarly styled one. Yeah, that turned out great the last time somebody did that.
And don't say it's not. It's been that way since the original Rumble Arena game, which was released not long after Melee in 2001. This is a consistent trend, and not just with Bandai, that when a popular style of game is coming out that has been shown to sell really well, someone tries to ape it.
Well, I bought it. Why? Because I've owned pretty much every Western-released Digimon game at some point. So I can tell you, none of the Digimon fighting games have been that good.
Oh, sure, some are entertaining, but they're not that high in quality, either having extreme difficulty curves, system bugs, or playstyles that, well, don't appeal to anyone that's not a fan. But, just so we can show how All-Stars Rumble really stacks up, I'm going to look not just at it, but the prior fighting games, Digimon Rumble Arenas 1 and 2, and Digimon Battle Spirit 1 and 2.
So let's enter the Wayback Machine and take a look at Rumble Arena 1 for the PS1.
Now, I really like this game. Some of it's an air of nostalgia, but it has a really balanced roster. Not including evolutions, there are 14 selectable characters, 24 if you do. And it was well balanced between the then-only seasons, so it feels like no one faction is overwhelming it. Omnimon, Imperial Digimon Paladin mode, and Black or Greymon are independent playable characters. Itmon was another good choice as a secret unlockable. Both the control and movesets are pretty balanced, no one feeling hindered in capabilities, with one normal attack command and two special attack commands relating to their canon movesets, which get changed up when they digivolve. Digivolution is set up by either a charging gauge from battling an opponent, the one injured more getting their gauge charged faster, or by one of the modify cards that periodically appear on the field. The only one that doesn't get a Mega is Wormmon, who evolves into Stingmon.
And to make up for this, Stingmon is actually one of the more broken attackers. Spamming his special moves makes it difficult to recover.
While they're in their evolved forms, the player can deplete the remaining time in the form to trigger a super move for massive damage. But the super moves for the Imperial Dramon and Mega Gargamon are flawed, in that they have a wind-up to them that the player has to catch their opponent in to get to work right. And this leads into one of the flaws of the game. It's ridiculously easy to have attacks be interrupted in mid-wind-up.
This isn't something the AI can exclusively exploit. This can actually apply to any player. So it comes off as more of a balancing element, to keep people from being stuck endlessly in attack chains if they can time it right. But it's still frustrating. It's not like a company would implicitly program the AI to exploit a chain after chain attack with absolutely no escape from them or counterattacking, because that would not only be stupid, it would be absolutely infuriating.
The only one that actually does that kind of thing is the game's end boss, Reapermon, with his special attacks. But it's supposed to be the final challenge in the first place. This is where that difficulty spike comes in, as it can be a right pain to kick this guy's ass. Every attack can be guarded against, but it's not a perfect guard, the damage taken only reduced. Which is fine. You can't play 100% defensive strategy in the first place with these types of games. Probably the most unforgivable element is the command latency. Everything seems sluggish, at times becoming outright unresponsive. It really throws off your reaction times. I admit, this might be because the game is 15 years old and it's worn out, but there is a noticeable delay between pressing a button and its action depicted on screen.
I like the voice acting the most in this one as well. While the other console games feature it, this is the one where the dialogue most reflects the personality of the Digimon and their partners.
As, on top of voicing attacks, you get short snippets of dialogue from both the related Digimon and their partners, most notably when you select them for battle, when Digivolution is triggered, and at the end of a fight.
I win!
You win.
All of these games are considered to have included the anime characters in their events to increase acknowledgement and emotional ties. It's a good thing to have. But this was not the best performance by far of any of the gathered, nor the best quality for audio for the clips.
But hey, this was a PS1 game. Despite its library, it's rare you got actual voiced characters in these.
So yeah, far from perfect, but enjoyable. Now let's move on to what was odd for even this set, the Battle Spirit games.
They're odd because, well, they were originally for the WonderSwan.
The WonderSwan was Bandai's attempt to get in on the portable game console market, but bombed, and was never released outside of Japan. It's notable for having the Tamers line of games that are considered canon to both Digimon Adventure and Digimon Tamers.
If you ever wondered about that Kenichi Joji backstory plot hole concerning the Dark Seed, where the hell Ryo Akiyama came from in the first place, and how Ken knew him despite being from complete different Earths, well, look no farther.
This is relevant because the final boss of Battle Spirit 1, Millenniummon, was the chief antagonist of those games, where the Dark Seed that got stuck in Ken came from, and what he, as the Digimon Emperor, was trying to recreate when he was constructing Chimeramon, and is the first thing that ties the continuities together. Yes, I am a gigantic nerd, especially when it comes to story continuity. Have we met?
So yes, Battle Spirit 1 was a tie-in to the Tamers WonderSwan games. The Western release annoys me, simply because of a ROM update they could have used, but chose not to. There exists a Battle Spirit 1.5 for the WonderSwan with an expanded roster, which includes Gallantmon Crimson mode as an alternate evolution for Guilmon.
If there's one continuous theme amongst the Digimon games, its Gallantmon Crimson mode gets gypped.
The issue with them being actually WonderSwan games ported to the GBA is the WonderSwan didn't have a lot of memory to work with. So if you feel there's rather little content in it, you're not wrong. The whole roster once unlocked is 12 characters, with pretty much the same members as Rumble Arena, but excluding Patamon and Gatomon, added back in 1.5, and adding in Lopmon. Itmon also does not evolve unless you have 1.5, frustrating anyone who likes Tamer's Beelzemon Blast mode.
This will be relevant later.
As the WonderSwan only had a D-pad and 2 buttons, you're stuck to a jump button and an attack button, whose used move changes depending on which directions you're holding the D-pad.
Another checkbox on the Smash Bros. Parallels.
And while there's no health bar to worry about, the only way to win is to collect balls that drop from your opponent as you kick their ass, but being wary to not let them get the other balls that drop from you when they kick your ass. The best way I found to generate them and not leave myself open to damage is using the charging attack when you're running at them, but some areas don't allow for that to be done with ease. Digivolution is caused by Calamon showing up in the area, acting essentially like a Smash Ball before there was a Smash Ball. All of the Megaforms are invincible while they are around, aren't hindered by environmental hazards, are far faster, and generate at least 4 balls per attack that hits. And like Rumble Arena 1, they have a time limit before reversion. Around the 4th or so area, Itmon appears and boots the intended opponent out, and beating him is a challenge, as he deals damage far faster and has a field that draws the balls in, no matter the color, straight to him. So, it's a struggle to not only get points on the roster against him, but to keep him from getting what he scores off of you with him just needing to stand around to get them. If you lose to him, it's not game over, and you go back to the opponent you would have originally fought, but losing means he doesn't get unlocked.
But if you think that was bad, then we hit Millennium Mon, and the game throws you a curveball.
In that, for the first time, you need to worry about health, and 2 of your HP balls are lost from each hit. You're only likely to recover 1 at a time at best. Made more frustrating is all of his attacks cause status abilities you may have seen from items in past areas. Either a slowdown of movement speed which makes his other attacks connect far easier, an electric attack that causes your character to freak out with muscle spasms, or being set on fire and running around to put it out.
Guilmon, how many times must I tell you? Stop, drop, and roll. Not like that!
Of course, even hitting him is a chore, as his hitbox is tiny, and there's a time limit. It's a gratuitous one, as you're still around when the timer hits 0, I would be pretty amazed. The only way I'm able to get rid of him is survive until Calamon shows up with the occasional hit in, which is not easy as aerial attacks in this game suck, and then go to town while I'm temporarily immortal in Mega form. With him dead, you are the win rare, and can go on to unlocking the rest of the roster by sequentially playing as everyone else.
Or you can Game Shark it so you can simply play as your favorites.
The controls are a bit stiff too, mainly when trying to change directions and attack at the same time. It can render you unable to do anything for 1 to 2 seconds, and can throw you off your game. And the small number of balls that are generated in fighting, unless you're a Megaform, makes getting every one you can and keeping every one you can from your opponents a necessity.
Fortunately, they fixed that in Battle Spirit 2.
The second game focused exclusively on Digimon Frontier, with the playable characters all 6 chosen of that show. Koichi and the Darkness Spirits are unlockable with game completion, as are an Agunimon and Lobomon that can Hyper Spirit Evolve into Emperor Greymon and Magna Garurumon.
So, yeah, smaller roster, but there's a reason for it.
On top of being able to slide evolve into the related Beast Spirit forms of the team, collecting 5 special drop items allows the character to Ancient Spirit Evolve into the related final form for the character. The special Aguni and Lobomon able to unleash the power of them all as Susanuomon.
These mid-battle cinematics are why there isn't more of a roster. Programming them probably took up a fair chunk of memory space.
But hey, they look damn cool and give an enormous boost to the collection count, as in this game there are 3 types of balls that vary the point count from collecting them. The blinking ones 2, and the ones with the gold ring around them 3, making it easier to get a higher point count and all the more necessary to keep yours away from your opponents. The final level is against Cherubimon, as it was released before Frontier's final arc against the Royal Knights and Lucemon, which is formatted the same as the final boss fight against Millennium in the previous game. And it's a different challenge than said Time Bandit. It's easier to hit him as he teleports around the map, his attacks are easier to dodge, but you also need to worry about environmental debris when he forms a black hole-like attack which draws them all in while you're trying to run from injury by the attack, and constantly dodge a series of lightning strikes where he's completely off the field. You can attack the lightning cloud to get rid of it faster, but that puts you in danger of getting hit by the lightning more easily. Plus, as you hit him, his attacks become faster, and while he's easier to hit, Battle Spirit 2 suffers the same problem as 1, in that the aerial attacks suck. Pulling off fire tornadoes with a Digimon, I find the easiest way to kill him, but it's not a simple task, no matter who you choose.
But at least when you fail in any of these games, it actually feels as if you, the player, screwed up. Not like the game is being outright cheap, broken, or whatnot. No, that begins here, with Rumble Arena 2. The worst of these games, which was released in 2004. This is just plain bad. To the point that it and World 4, sitting on my shelf behind me, has been an inside joke for as long as I've had the bookshelves behind me on the show.
The entry is also the most guilty of trying to be a Smash Bros. Clone of the lot, with the common gameplay modes outright mirrors of said Nintendo title. Oh, there are other game modes, but trust me, you do not want to play any of them. They are horrible. That latency problem with the original? Oh, it's far, far worse here, with sheer massive lag. Hell, even the loading screens take forever. And there are innumerable game breaker bugs, which occur seemingly at random. The attacks are pathetic. Digivolution uses a 3-tier system that barely, and I do mean barely, adds any advantage from use until one hits Megaform, and even then, it's not that good. The system for it in this game hybridized Battle Spirit and Rumble Arena 1 systems, and is just plain terrible. You need to actively reconfigure the controls to even play with any sane discretion, and after you do, the attack combos they hint at are then for the original mappings, meaning they are of no help.
This was also that period of gaming where fighting games were really obsessed with miscellaneous button combos, as if you would really use more than the basics. At least the Dragon Ball Budokai games, which I had several of, had a legitimate excuse to programming so many of those in, and they were usually short combos. This game has one that rates in at 9 or higher, and those little hint windows, that's the only spot they show up in.
Oh, there's one noted as favorite attack, but that's not the same thing. Plus, this move list is not available from a paused menu mid-battle. You need to go track it down within the game's menus outside of combat. To the game's credit, it does have the largest roster of them, with 19 members.
3, however, are palette swaps of Agumon, Gabumon, and Guilmon. Now, I could understand Black Agumon. It's supposed to be a stand-in for Black War Greymon, but just giving him an evolutionary line. But why the hell would you do the other 2?
Hell, with Omnimon, Duskmon, Malomyotismon, and Dioboromon around, you wouldn't even need the evolution trees. Make him one of the fucking bosses.
They should have done that. They really, really should have. It would have cleared memory space for other entrants. Instead, they included Nemon from Frontier as a playable character.
Yes, Nemon, one of the most irritating characters in the franchise. This was not a good decision. And that roster balance I complimented Rumble Arena and Battle Spirit 1 on having, completely gone here, with a large focus on the events relating to the original adventure season. All 8 original partner Digimon playable. There's really only Vmon as a 02 representative, as Gatomon and Myotismon began as 01 characters, and Guilmon the only rep from Tamers. At least we got a competent boss from Duskmon, who is awesome, and Flamemon, that one episode only rookie Digimon Takuya turned into when he went back to Earth early, to represent Frontier.
So, aside from the latency and the lackluster choices for the selection, what else is bad? Well, I can barely tell what's going on!
The level cameras keep a static view throughout the game of the entire map, no matter how many characters are in the match, reducing visibility of the combatants to ridiculous lows.
Originally, I played this game on a 10-inch screen. These days, I play all my consoles on this very nice 21-inch flat screen I got a few years ago. I sit about 3 feet from it, as it's sequestered on my desk right where I work. I still can't see what's going on in this game!
Made worse by, yes, this game having those unbeatable combo chains I alluded to earlier. It's mainly by the bosses, but every now and then the normal, non-evolved base-level rookies can hit you with one that you just plain can't recover from. And unlike Rumble Arena 1, Digivolution is only charged from damaging your opponent, so if you're losing from the outset, there's no way to really recover. And the render of everything just looks awful. I honestly preferred the obviously blocky polygons of the PS1 entry, as it didn't look like this overly shiny, oily, ugly texture mapping. The single-player campaign at least has this difficulty map, so you can naturally build experience and choose your battles while unlocking stuff, and that's the only reason I think I ever beat this game originally. I got enough experience with the various hindrances to gameplay, I adapted to them.
But doing so pretty much ruined my ability to play or enjoy any such fighting-style game ever again. Which, I'll freely admit, left me pretty damn biased against this from the outset, and made me receive it far more harshly than it probably deserves. So, is All-Stars Rumble worse than Rumble Arena 2? Honestly, no. The gameplay is definitely better than it, but it has many of the same issues.
And it pretty much starts from the title. The title of the game is a lie. This is not an all-star roster. We have 6 from Adventure, 2 Zero-2, 2 Tamers, and 2 Cross Wars. That's it. Nothing for Frontier or Data Squad, for a total of 12 characters.
And think about that for a second. It only just outclasses and matches the number of playable characters on 2 games made nearly a decade and a half ago for a handheld console notorious for its tiny memory. This was a big detractor for me.
Yeah, this was on a Blu-ray disc, but from the supplied content, this could have been a late-run PS2 game. There is so little to it.
I have bought DLC that have more content than this game in less space and for half the retail price. So, if you really must go out and buy this, for the love of sanity, wait until it drops to $20. It started at 40. You won't have long to wait.
I should probably start with something nice. The graphics look good? I mean, I didn't find any graphical errors, and everyone's render looks pretty smooth.
Granted, that doesn't buy points with me. I don't care that much about graphics quality when judging a game, as long as I can see things. If it's good, that's just the icing on a cake that is this presentation. It's not reflective of overall quality.
It just seems like all the available room for game data has been wasted somewhere, so there's little actual content. Battles take place in these pseudo 3D maps as opposed to the flat areas more traditional of this style of game. Each Digimon has a quick attack, a power attack, and a ranged attack, though some aren't capable of them. The inescapable combos are back in spades, capable of rendering you dead straight out, and the AI is really good at generating them. It tries to remedy that by having an escape teleport that eats a skill gauge, a stupid addition to the combat scheme, and a period of post-damage chain invincibility, but it really does not work. Like Rumble Arena 2, you only get the Digivolution gauge charged by attacking, thus, again, limiting your options if you don't already have the advantage. Attacking in the evolved form charges a super attack for a big boost to your damage output, shown in a cinematic, many of them capable of missing entirely with their more nerfed characters. Speaking of, there is no character balance either. Several select Digimon are completely and outright superior to play with, as they have all the combat advantages, while others are damn near unusable. Gatomon has the worst DPS of the lot, despite having the fastest moves. Several of the movesets make them damn near unplayable as well, Tentomon being the biggest offender, as a few of his attacks render him unable to respond to commands. While not as many as in Rumble Arena 2, there are several game-breaker glitches and AI bugs. Some you can exploit, like this flag capture thing I found, but most just assist in getting you killed. You can equip special modify cards after you collect them, but I could not figure out how the hell their activations triggered. And the currency gain is so low while they're priced insanely high, there's no way in hell you're going to fill out the library with any speed, as the only other way is finding them through playing the story mode.
Yeah, there's a story mode. All-Stars gameplay is a hybrid between Rumble Arena 2 and Digimon World 4. And now, a dramatic reenactment of the moment I realized that.
The fuck am I doing?
It was not a good moment.
And I mean that. Well, it's something different to fight other non-playable Digimon in the wilds like this, and adds a framing device to the playable areas. I'm just thinking again they could have excluded these. Have the goddamn story mode occur in cutaways in between fighting arenas, and use the file space to give us a better roster. I wanted to play as Galmon, Renamon, and Bancho Leomon, damn it! And it's what you're likely to be playing regardless. There's no online multiplayer at all for this game. Why it sucks is it's ridiculously easy, especially in the later levels, to get stuck in damaged attack chains by swarms of enemies that often hit harder than you do, especially when in tandem with champion and mega level Digimon. The Apemon and Epimon groups are especially annoying. It's due to this one group here that single-handedly tripled the time it took to complete each character's story campaign.
Yeah, excluding it, each story mode takes about an hour. But having to reset because you keep losing to just one group of enemies over and over and over and over again made it take me 3 hours to finish each of them. Because it traps me in that damn attack chain where, even if I evolve for my current character, it does nothing. Absolutely nothing to curb the smackdown I am receiving. It's literally only by luck and repetition over 2 hours just playing back to that one part that I am ever able to pass by them.
And the story for the story mode just plain sucks. I've repeatedly hit on the point that all the other games use characters reflective of the ones from the anime series, but this is not true for this game. For if that was their intent, they got the characterization for them completely and utterly wrong. Well, okay, Shoutmon and Darulumon are okay, and Wormmon seems like a natural development from his 0-2 self, but I can't conscience anybody else as equivalent to their anime counterparts. The worst off being Impmon and Guilmon, a high point of irritance to me since they're from my favorite season, as they are not reflective of any of the character elements seen from their Tamer's incarnations. The former reset to before he had any development, meaning his entire redemption and reconciliation arc is nowhere to be seen, and Guilmon, instead of being the innocent, naive, and childlike dino, is just a plain goddamn idiot. In fact, the entire storyline subplot only happens because of him being completely ignorant of unleashing a malevolent force, which is never named or identified to my frustration, upon a digital world that's currently so at peace it's entered a point of stagnation. Another element so contradictory to everything established about any version of the digital world, I almost turned off the game when the narration text spoke up about it.
And the writing. I just find it so bad. Constantly talking down to the audience. And not even to the right audience. It's written as if it's for 6-year-olds when the game is rated E10+, and places a great deal of emphasis on nostalgia to draw in the older fan base. How do you market to that range, and then make it so that it insults one's intelligence by not actually being reflective of it? Yeah, it gets that bad at points. Hell, no, and I mean no other Digimon game has ever done that.
In fact, the entire time I was playing, I kept thinking of the framing device from Power Rangers Wild Force, and how it was a children's story for very little kids, but being aimed at and told to an audience too old for that kind of rhetoric. It's why I blame Saban Brands for this one over Bandai of America, as this has been part of their modus operandi for a long time, most notably when they came back to prominence a few years ago. Now don't get me wrong, Digimon is an anime directed at a young audience. Just not that young. And all of it is more maturely presented than the content in this game. That's what I'm complaining about. Kids, believe it or not, are not that stupid. Most of the stuff I talk about are kid shows, and they deal with their subject matter in a more mature manner than a lot of adult-oriented programming I can name. That's why I watch them. That's why I'm interested in watching them. Hell, the more competently written and maturely presented a story is, no matter the storytelling or the intended age group, the more a series is going to appeal to those outside the intended demographic. And that's a good thing. For a necessary component to franchise longevity is allowing it to retain its fans by not treating them as morons, and not ignoring them by focusing exclusively on the lowest common denominator. When you do that, people are going to leave, and you end up causing what you wanted to avoid in the first place. And as this game was commissioned in response to fans hooked on either the original show or the original released games I've talked about 11 to 15 years ago, and possibly then Data Squad 7 years ago, even if they watched those at 10, you're still dealing with a decently sized fanbase of mainly adults you've pissed off by doing this.
And thus, even if you might find it better than I did, I cannot recommend this because I respect the intelligence of anyone that sees this video far more than the game does. Hell, this would have been too stupid for me to play when I was 10 in the 90s.
There's one more element I should address, and it's the Super Digivolutions. The final boss of each character's campaign is a Digimon reflective of one of the final possible evolutions a Digimon can obtain. By beating them, you unlock it for use, which replaces the normal Digimon you evolve to. But I don't get why they selected what they did. While Omnimon, Imperialdramon, and Shoutmon D-Cross make sense, the rest is highly questionable to me. Examon is in no way related to Gatomon or Biomon's evolutionary lines in any way I could find. Aegistramon, while an evolution from Preciomon, isn't known to the Western fanbase as the game it premiered in, Digimon Story Lost Evolution, and the ones that came after are those Bandai of America never imported, so it has no established connection to Gomamon, especially as that's one of them that has no official megaform. And Tentomon goes from Mega Kabuterimon to Tyrant Kabuterimon. This one you would get if you played the MMO Digimon Masters. A lot of people don't. You can see the problem here, a lack of recognition by all but the diehards and knowledgeable, reducing accessibility to the newbies and alienating once more that connection to the anime series these selections are supposed to be representing. Again, none of the other fighting games used evolutions not reflective of the anime events, because these were supposed to be the characters reflected in those stories due to the emotional investment we have in them. Speaking of, Impmon and Dorulumon both become Shoutmon Cross 5B.
Why? This isn't even the Beelzemon that goes into that combination. I wouldn't have minded Cross 5B for Dorulumon Solo to evolve into, but we got gypped on Blast Mode. Again.
And of course, Guilmon goes from Wargrowlmon to just plain old Gallantmon.
Yes, I mean, it's not like Guilmon has a super mega form in addition to that. He is certainly not like anyone else on the roster that has something after their base final form that actually appeared in canon. Thus, we need to lock his default mega until after the player beats the game. Yeah, Guilmon gets gypped, and my personal favorite mega form is once more excluded from this type of thing. This was the last straw for cementing my dislike of this game. The nonsensical decisions for the roster and these trees, as a Digimon that has a legitimate super form doesn't get it, while a non-canon MMO-exclusive super form that only players of that game would even remember is added in.
I freely admit most of my issues with this are personal nitpicks. My biases have harshened my views on what others might find a better game, but it did not have the content necessary for me to find it enjoyable. I question decisions of how they made this game, and the writing, to me, just plain blows.
Really, if I want a Digimon fighting game, I'm going back to the original PS1 title. The Battle Spirit games are flawed, but enjoyable. Rumble Arena 2 should be burned with fire. And All Stars is just simply reflective of the lack of thinking and quality in two companies I hold to a higher standard than what they hold for themselves. I won't discourage you from buying it. You might have more fun with it than I did. Maybe we'll encourage them to ship us over the better games they keep on giving us. But I really doubt it. I'm just gonna go trade it in for the next Pokemon games. As I record this, they're not out yet. I'm Shinta, and we're starting Kamen Rider Akito next week over on Tokusatsu Review. See you then.
It's not seeing anything. I got nothing. Yeah, Tony, it's Davis. The Samsung failed again. Yes, I need a working camera now. I'm trying to shoot an episode. Yes, I know the past job you did, you said wouldn't hold long. I thought it hold for longer than the reshoots I had to do for my Reminiscent Tyson reviews. Look, when's the replacement getting in? Alright, I'll work on some other stuff. Maybe I'll edit the voiceover segments while I wait. You sure it's only going to be a few days? Alright, I'll hold you to that. And I owe you one. Thanks. I'll see if anything's recoverable later.
What the hell was that?